In this digital age we live in, we are constantly commenting. There are think pieces about those think pieces, and everybody named Mama got a podcast. Talkticians, welcome and welcome back. My name is Tatiana. I teach communication strategies to help you master conflict resolution. Today, I'm going to share my story and talk to you about the 5 realizations that help to transform me and my communication in hopes that something will stick and it'll help you on your journey. You definitely want to stick around for number 5 because that one is the most important. So, just a little about me. I used to love to debate. I would wait for those really my high conflict friends to come by so that we could talk about all the latest trending topics and have those deep philosophical debates. And if I didn't have an opinion on something, I was scraping at the air trying to find one because I just had to add to the conversation. And then one day I woke up and I realized I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to talk to my family. I don't want to talk to my friends. I don't want to talk to nobody at work. I don't want to talk to my damn self at this point. I don't want to hear nothing. And in that quiet time, I really sat there trying to figure out where I found the energy to argue and debate and talk about every little thing. Where did I find it? It made me think about the way that we do things. It made me think about other societies, which then made me think about culture. In Western society, we have very little time dedicated to quiet and stillness. We are in constant and quick communication. We are emailing in bed. We are talking to our same friends on 3 different apps and we're texting them all at the same time. Love to my friends, but we're bombarded with inflammatory news statements before we even drink our coffee. And you get on the road and before you can even get to where you're going, people are asking you, did you hear about this? Or did you hear about that? And what you think about this? And I was stuck on this wheel of over engagement and didn't even know it. And of course, I was anxious. Then I started to look at the way that I'd been communicating with my loved ones. And I realized I'm not listening. I'm not listening at all. When we disagreed, I poured so much energy into getting my point across. I came into the conversation with such force. It was like my opinion was the only thing that mattered. And I listened, but I listened just enough to make sure that I had a rebuttal. And that's not really listening. In understanding that, I realized that I was missing a lot of opportunities. I was missing the opportunities to truly hear them, to understand the person in front of me, to love them really, because that's what listening does. It shows that you love and that you care for another person. And I wasn't doing that because I was too busy trying to say what I had to say. And in assessing the way that I argued, I started to think, why am I going so hard for this? Why is my stance more important than the other person's? For one, I was untrained in how to truly listen, and there was definitely an air of self-righteousness. I'm not blaming this on the church, but I'm just saying, I grew up in church, and in that, for a lot of people, you grow up thinking that the way that you do things is right and the way that everybody else does things is wrong. And unknowingly, that attitude poured into all of my conversations. I also noticed that I had a really deep desire to be understood. It wasn't enough to just say my point and move on. I would keep hammering into it until the person fully understood me. And I would get so wrapped up in getting my point across that it didn't matter what time of day it was. It didn't matter if that person was in the right headspace. The crust wasn't even out their eye. And I'm up like, yeah, so about last night. And I had to ask myself, why are you going so hard in this conversation? Why does that person have to understand you? What is this with you? There's so much that goes into being understood. I have to communicate clearly and authentically, and I wasn't doing that at the time because I didn't know how. That other person has to have that skill, and they have to have the willingness to want to understand me. The timing has to be right. All of these different factors. So if all of these different things are at play, why am I going so hard? I was fighting to solve the problem right then and there because I could not handle people being mad at me. I could not handle the thought of somebody not liking me. That was a problem. Whew. Realizing these things hurt my feelings. I'm sitting here at my big age, completely unaware of my communication and the way that it's harming me and the way that it's harming other people. I realized that I was a poor listener and I had all of these childhood wounds that were seeping into my conversations. Saying yes when I didn't want to say yes, not knowing how to set boundaries, not knowing how to clearly communicate so that the person that I'm talking to ain't confused. And in this entire process of being sat down and being quiet and just not wanting to talk, I realized I no longer find arguing intriguing or energizing. I'd be mid argument and be like, you know what? We don't even got to get into that. Let's move on. Instead of getting stuck on things that don't matter, I have learned to reserve my energy for the things that I actually care about. When I'm talking to my friends and family, I ask them before I just start talking, do you want to hear my opinion or do you just want me to listen? One, I get to support them in a way that they actually appreciate. And two, I save my time and energy because if you're about to take all my good advice and not be listening to me, just kidding. Um, I used to get really upset when people didn't communicate with me in the way that I liked. And I'm not going to lie, when people just speak flippantly or they're really mean, that still pisses me off. I hate that. But I've learned that I cannot control anybody else. I can only control me. So I allow people to communicate the way that they want to communicate. And I decide if I want to stick around and deal with it. Game changer. So as promised, that probably was a lot more than 5 realizations. But here was the 5th one, and the one that I think is most valuable. Contrary to popular belief, you don't have to have an opinion. Did you hear me? You don't have to have an opinion. Now, I know some of y'all probably short circuited when you heard me say that because, like, what? We all have opinions. But listen, yes, what I said is very anti culture, but it's also very beneficial. When someone is trying to get a rise out of me and I genuinely don't have an opinion on the matter, I've learned to say, I don't have enough information on that topic. And then I shut up. When we are presented with a topic, it is okay to be neutral. It's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say, I don't have enough information on that. It's all right to say, I don't get it. It's also okay to say, I don't care that much. I promise. With all of these realizations, my life has become so much lighter. My brain has space to chill. It has time to take in good and healthy information. And I now can reserve my energy for conversations that are going to fill me instead of deplete me. That quiet time has helped me to become a lot more selective in my communication. I noticed that I'm not as easily triggered because I ain't say nothing. What you gonna trigger? And it's really a flex because who not about to be stressed out by nobody else is me. So I appreciate you all listening to what I went through whatever that situation was, that quiet time where God sat me down. And I hope that the things that I shared in this video help you on your communication journey. I hope that it helps you to better understand yourself and the people around you. Y'all let me know in the comments though. Do you agree or disagree? Do we have to have an opinion on everything? Talkticians, till next time.